Hey folks, welcome to the KubeVanguard. Second week in a row. I'm gonna start doing like Veeam does in the community hub. I'm gonna say week two. All right, you've done it 2 weeks, Jeff, in a row. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to be doing this more often than not. It's an effort on the weekend, especially if you've been all week long talking. I mean, I like to talk, but there's a point where I just want to kind of go to a monastery or something and just, one of the ones where they're allowed to talk. But that's not the week I would do it. And I'll tell you why, because there was a lot of things that happened this week. So obviously, you know what I'm going to say, right? You know what I'm going to say, what happened this week. Yes, I tested the new Newcastle disaster recovery. No, I'm joking. He was like, what? Jeff, were you asleep all week? Yes, Veeam 13 came out. I mean, how could we not have noticed? So I am very pleased about Veeam 13. I'm one of the people way back 10 years ago, or whenever, even more. I asked Veeam about this when I was the service provider. And like a lot of things with Veeam, at first say, oh, no, we're never going to do that. And like endpoint and Veeam agent, and then they eventually do it, and they do it very well. So they listen to customer feedback. So this was a big thing for me. As well, except that I didn't know it was going to be released the day it was. Maybe I missed the meeting. There were some Vanguards, though, who at 9:01 put a blog post out, and it wasn't the beta, I think. So some people knew. I probably missed that. But I spent the next basically 2 days installing everything again, removing the beta. So I'd had the pre-release, whatever it was called, then the beta, and now this. And so I had to make sure it was all out of there. And I spent 2 days looking around. I haven't gotten to Veeam 1 yet, just VBR and some other things. And so far, I'm going to give it a big pass. What I think everyone has to remember is this is a huge endeavor by Veeam. You're taking an you're taking an application and porting it to a completely different operating system. So that is huge, right? You'd expect this to be extremely bumpy. So far, it's been very smooth. So congratulations to Veeam. This is a very nice step. Obviously, as a lot of people say, it's not that Windows is insecure. That's not really a real argument. You can secure a Windows system very well. Certain things, of course, you can't do. I mean, immutability, things like that. But what you really always want to remember is that any operating system is only as secure as the admin makes it or makes it unsecure. To the point where even something like OpenBSD, which is probably the most secure operating system in the world, I believe, if the admin gives their password to a hacker or anyone who can control things, there's your security gone. So procedures and policies and checks and all that are absolutely necessary, especially when you keep in mind that hackers' abilities keep enhancing. AI is making that worse. People who would have been, lousy hackers or medium hackers now become like bionic hackers because they've got this extra brain. So script kiddies now have grown up. AI has made them grow up. So the software has to be excellent, but also procedures and checks and basically following the rules if you want to survive. And that's what Veeam's done. So enough talking, Jeff. Let's take a look. This is going to be just a brief overview of some of the windows. Okay, isn't that funny? Some of the windows, or how you can look at Veeam. Obviously, it's not Windows anymore, although there is a piece of it. And then later on, I'll go deeper in different shows. It's too big to just do all in one. So let's take a look at the different views. I won't say Windows. People think, what? I thought Windows version's coming out later. So first and foremost, when you install, so there are two ISOs that I found. One is the Veeam software appliance. That allows you to install the Veeam software appliance, which is basically Veeam, and there is a repository in there as well. And so that's excellent, especially if you have small shops or you only have one server. It's great. So that is the software appliance. Now you can add outside repository software appliance as well. So the terminology here and some of the terminology Veeam have kind of invented, like the just enough OS, which I mean, look, back in 2000 when I was running a FreeBSD server, I could make it just enough OS, just whatever. So that's kind of marketing stuff. That reminds me of Windows when they came out with Windows Core and they said, wow, look, we removed huge attack surface by removing the UI, the desktop experience. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. I removed that in 1990. Well, no, I'm not that old, am I? With just a CLI server, right? Okay, fine. It's marketing. I understand you have to do that. So what do we get first? When you install, I'm sorry. The second ISO is the Veeam infrastructure appliance. And that is this just GEOS, just enough OS. That's what it says in the when you boot it up. And that allows you to install either a proxy or a Veeam hardened repository. So it gives you that choice as well. And Veeam now is communicating, you can communicate through certificates, which is fantastic. So you can do all that and connect it up to a VBR server. So the best way to go about that, apart from reading the documentation, is just do it yourself. Get it up in the lab. So those are the ISOs. This is the Veeam software appliance, which I've added extra things to, so keep that in mind. And the first window we're going to look at, or first view, so I don't confuse people, is this. Now this is in Proxmox. It's a VM. Could have been on a physical server, could have been anywhere. And this is what they call the Veeam host management, but on the console, okay? So let's go in there. So you get, when you install it, the opportunity to install the Veeam admin, okay? It's one user. But there's also this thing called the Veeam Security Officer. I'll talk about it in a second. Everywhere you go now, you have to use MFA, which I know is extraordinarily annoying, but it's annoying to hackers too. So let's face it, if you want it to be annoying to the bad people, then you can put up with a bit of annoyance. And I'm getting good at this. It was annoying for me at first because, I mean, I do it with everything, but it's like, you know, you're too late or someone phones you and get the wrong code. Enough complain. Remember, rules, following procedures, having extra barriers is only going to help you, especially in production. So what do we have here? Host configuration. So you can change the host name, network. This is all straightforward. Advanced networking brings you into a TUI, which I've seen in Rocky Linux before. It gives you a few more options. Time, very important for immutability and things like that. HTTP proxy, if you need that. And then reset time shift protection. I haven't played with that yet, and I haven't looked it up in the documentation. Time shift is very important because if your time goes out of sync, you're going to have a problem with your immutable backups, obviously, because it's going to detect that. And I don't think it even can set immutability if it sees there's a problem with time. So time is a very important entity. Again, I like it. It's lean. It's mean. You see what you get. So let's go back. Remote access configuration. Okay. Disable the web UI. You can disable the web UI if you want. You can enable a secure shell. Shell access. Disable shell access. So you can get shell access on this. Okay. One of the reasons why you want to have that Veeam Security Officer is things like this. If Jeff tries to do it as the Veeam admin, if I do it, or let's just try to enable this, secure shell, it'll say there, awaiting security officer approval. I actually tried this, and when I was testing it, that's why the security officer hasn't logged in yet. I'm actually the security officer too. Don't do that. This is a lab. I wear many hats, right? But this is the extra barrier. So in production, in a real workload, you would have the security officer, and their only job is to go in and review, okay, does the admin really need this? And you're just going to ask, did you really want this? Why do you want this? And maybe this gets written down somewhere. So there's auditing involved. So it's very good. Same thing here. Shell. So on the, only on the console, you can get the shell. Okay. And you can get root. Keep that in mind. And people go, oh my goodness, you got root. Well, this is an appliance with VBR in it. Okay. It's not just the repositories. It's also got VBR. So, you know, you might need that to go in and do things. Again, security is one of those balancing acts because too much security and you're like, it's like I close this room up with metal and great, I won't be mugged, but I also won't eat, right? And I'll die. So that's the problem. And in this case, I understand. And also it's not easy. You can't just get it like that. You got to ask the security officer, but only from here. Okay. So keep that in mind. Let's go back, change password, reboot system, sign out, shut down. Very straightforward. So that's nice. I like that. It's fine. Remember, if you're using something like iDRAC or any kind of the remote console software, make sure that is secure as well. You've got to secure everything. Don't have any loopholes that you've left open because that's just going to be a problem. As long as you've done that and your console secure, this is perfectly fine. And it looks nice too, right? Okay. Next, they have something called the Veeam Host Management. So again, host management, and I think that's the UI. When it said disable the UI, I believe this is what it could disable. So you don't have to have this available if you don't want. So Veeam admin, put my password in. Once again, yes, MFAMI. Look, if you do this enough, it'll just become second nature. Of course, if you have a lot of appliances and stuff, then it becomes a bit of a nuisance. But that's good, remember. Alrighty, there we go. So, this is the host management console. Again, very straightforward. Give you some general information here. Network. Again, time. You can add a domain here. You can join a domain if you want. Probably using Samba under the hood. Additional DNS suffixes. Time, extremely important. Remote access. So again, the host management UI. This is what you can disable. I wonder if I did this, it would kick me out, right? Because I just disabled it, but we'll see. But let's try to enable secure shell. Again, request has been submitted to the security officer. So, as with the console shell access and this, if you've done things correctly, okay, you have to wait. Okay, and this is enabled for 8 hours. So if the security officer is not on vacation, you're fine. But this is a good thing, okay? So it says it's enabled, but it's not because we're waiting. I'll just disable it now. Users and roles. There you go. There's the Veeam admin. And there is the Veeam security officer. Okay, you're going to say, okay, Jeff, but you're like the administrator, so why don't you just change password and then hack the whole system? All right, let's try it. Change password. And you've got to follow the, what is it, the destig, whatever, I can't even pronounce it. You can't just like put password in there. So I try to do this. Unable to change password for the security officer. Please use the recovery string instead. So the security officer gets this recovery string, which again, they got to put in a safe and keep it. Or in a file safe thing. But I can't change it. Very well done. Okay, so no sneakiness here, Jeff. Again, enable it. You can get by without it. It'll say though, it'll pop up when you're doing the installation. Are you certain, all in red, you don't want a Veeam security officer? And then you have to type big capital O's, okay, and then it'll let you go through. But honestly, that's silly. Now, the other trick is, I know that some organizations will have like 2 people on IT, and they don't like each other. So, one person can make themselves the Veeam admin and the Veeam security officer. Obviously, I can see that happening. But Veeam has shown you the way to do it. If you decide to go down stray paths, well, you'll get eaten by the bear. Okay, backup infrastructure. Again, this is stuff like data collection for monitoring, backup infrastructure lockdown. Again, you have to submit the request. I can't do it as admin. Very good. Updates, systems up to date. Actually, when I came in a few minutes earlier, it wasn't, and I decided to update it, and I'll show you that. And it worked perfectly. Look at that. And the settings are, I think you can have them automated, or you can just have manual settings overrides on. You got a compliance deadline. That's cool. And the Veeam official repository. Okay, so again, this is all straightforward. Logs and services. So I like this. I really like this. There's some things I really like, right? And so in Windows, you have to go and go into your services. This is all here. So if something's not working, a service, at least on the host, you go in here, you can see here. That's pretty cool. And of course, you can restart, you can stop it. Really nice. Logs, there you go. And it's even got like pointers to the links to the R&D forums, technical documentation, all nicely in one place. Collect the support bundles. Your events, isn't that cool? Look at that. Logged in with MFA. Very nice, very nice. So, again, kudos to Veeam. I like it. Let's move on to the next view. I'm not going to use the word window. Okay, again, now this is the VBR view. Now the difference with that host management view was it was on port 443. So you go to the node name, or not the node name, but the VBR server IP address or DNS name, and at the end you use port 10.443. Here I'm just using the 443, so HTTPS, and we'll just log in here. And this is VBR, okay? This is VBR with some caveats, okay? Caveats. Again, oh no, okay, luckily, thank you. Luckily, I just logged in, and obviously the token or whatever it's using, I can't remember, hasn't expired, and so I was able to log in without MFA. But when I first went in, I had to log in with MFA. Okay. Some of you looking at this will say, wait a minute, this kind of looks familiar, because if I remember correctly, it kind of does look like the AWS appliance or the Azure appliance. I seem to remember that. Could be in a dream or something. Still, I like it. It is lean. It is mean. You right at a glance, you see everything. I like this resiliency score right off the bat. I mean, that's something, you show the boss, right? I mean, if it's a good score, obviously. Like I'm only 25%. So, but this was just installed. But I like it's all in one place and nice. Okay. Everything else is going to be pretty, intuitive. So I got one backup job. I haven't got a backup copy job yet. This was just installed the other day. Here are my backups. So I like this. Backups. It's like the console, right? There are the backups. And here you go. Restore entire VM. Guest file restore. Instant recovery. Repositories. Now, here's one catch. Okay. And there are a few catches with Veeam 13 because they've done something a bit different this time. They haven't done what they always do, which is like it's ready when it's ready, i.e. everything's ready. This time, they decide this is such a big thing that they're going to release it. I mean, it's ready, but they're going to release it earlier than they might have in the past because there's some things they haven't added. For instance, some of the plugins apparently don't work yet for some of the plugins, right? So you have to check before you install. There's no migration yet either. So you can't go from a Windows Veeam to this Veeam. There's no migration path. That's coming later. But they want to get this out just in case. That way, they can iron out all the issues. And they warn you. And they've even got, I think there's a number of places they've warned you. Say, look, keep in mind, this is new. It's not beta anymore, but stay on your Windows for now. Just wait and whatnot. One of the pieces of functionality you don't have here is you can't add any other repositories from this UI. So from this view in the web UI, other than Windows repository, a Linux repository, or a hardened repository. So you want object storage? I'll show you in a second. It can be added, but not here. Scale repositories, you know that. And look, they've even put Veeam Data Cloud Vault. I don't know, was it that obvious there before? I don't remember seeing it there. It's kind of like nudge, nudge, use us, which is fine. Proxies. Managed servers, got a few. There's Mr. Penguin like that, or Miss Penguin, depending. And Veeam 1 is in here. I haven't had time to install it yet. So pretty nice. What do we have here? We got Veeam Intelligence, but you need a certain license for that, so it's not going to work in this. In Veeam 1, though, it will work with my NFR license. I've got updates are available again here. And you've got some configuration you can play around with here. Once again, well, one of the most favorites ones for me is event forwarding. I love that. So syslog, you can forward to syslog, to Splunk, or to Elk, or whatever. SNMP as well. Update settings, so you can go and you can tweak in here as well. Appearance, so some people really like the dark mode. Let's try it. I don't like it as much, probably because my glasses. It's like, the minute it gets dark, I can't see anything anymore. I got to go get new glasses. I like the bright, bright. You turn on the news, everything's so dark. I mean, this is Veeam's bright and happy and green. It looks like my garden, in the middle of the summer. So I like that. And then you got about here, which is really, it's not just about, whatever. You've got updater interface, got host management interface, which I think is going to go back to that other screen. Swagger documentation right here. And very important. Now, this was also when you logged in down at the bottom, I believe, when you logged into this. So if I log out of this, you'll see it. It's offering you to download the Windows-based backup console, okay? You have to do that for now. Just really you have to, especially if you want to add object storage. It's no big deal. I did that. I remember when they first allowed you to do that, when I was working for a service provider, I did it because I had like a whole bunch of VBR servers and I just had on my desktop, my laptop, the console, and I just would choose which one to log into. So, okay. But it's here if you need to find it. Collect logs, download logs. And again, you've got your customer support portal, R&D forums, help center. Really nice, very neat, very well organized. It has not lost that Veeam feel. And I mean the Veeam feel. You know, from day one with Veeam software, you log in, you look at it, and it just had this easy feel to it. It was doing complicated things, but it was nice and presentable. It's like one of those new, you know, supersonic jets that they have where you got a joystick and it's all just little panels and there's no old big wheel and, you know, whatever. That's what Veeam is. So I really like this. Okay, so we talked about the Windows console. Let's go take a look at the Windows console. So go over here. There it is. Again, I mean, you're not going to get lost here. It's basically extremely similar. I'm not going to say it's exactly the same because I could be wrong. Veeam 1's down here as well. I press Analytics. You got to install it, of course. But big difference here is, let's say you want to add more repositories, and especially if you want to add object stores. I've got this helper appliance templates, Azure, which is interesting. I don't remember seeing that before. But here, of course, if you want to install S3 object storage, you do it here. And there you can see my little OOPI. Again, it's great. I've got a hardened repository. I've got an OOPI. I've got a default also on the actual appliance, right? So there's one there too. Not very big here. One thing I want to mention about the SOS API S3 storage. When you add them, so Veeam have this manual bucket creation, automatic bucket creation. And it was created for vendors who don't support SOS API fully, so that it helps them. So I think with erasure coding, or if you're using like a database to keep track, Cassandra, things like that, that will help you, apparently. So they have that, and it's enabled by default, unless it sees that your storage supports SOS API, in which case it will automatically disable that auto bucket creation system. The only issue is that it says, warning, your storage doesn't support this, which, okay, but the storage supports SOS API, which is Veeam's, you know, special add-on to the protocol, which they created for S3. So that kind of scared me. What do you mean warning for what? And then I went, oh, wait, okay. So just keep that in mind. That I imagine would be changed because it's a little bit misleading, but it's fine. If you add S3, which supports SOS API, you'll be totally fine. And as you can see, it is the little blue bucket with S3 integrated. Always like to see that. But you can have, again, you can add any repository you want in the Windows client, okay? The console. So probably they'll add on, as time goes by, these features into the web UI. But look, this is not a big deal. It's nothing to, you know, tear your hair out. So only been 2 days. So I'm always very careful. But I like it so far. I think it's a huge, huge achievement. It's an enormous achievement to move your entire appliance, your software, from a Windows system to Linux. That's no small feat. And I haven't noticed anything yet. Will there be issues? Well, there's always issues with software. You can't avoid that. But judging by how hard they've worked on this and how smooth it's been for me so far, I think they're on the right path. And again, they're giving customers choice, which is wonderful. But choice comes with responsibility. Remember that. It's very important. So like going back to the Veeam security officer, use it or not use it. Remember, Veeam are giving you choice, but there are bad choices or they're less secure choices. That's important to remember. Sometimes you need to do that for various reasons. If I'm the only IT person in the company, guess what? And nobody else wants to be the security officer, well then guess what? I've got to be the Veeam security officer. But you know what? I might just create that anyways because that's still a protection against hacker. Because if a hacker gets my Veeam admin credentials somehow, and they don't get my Veeam security officer credentials, they're going to have to ask for permission to do bad stuff. And guess what? I'm not going to do that. I'll immediately go and change my Veeam admin permission password. So remember, Veeam give you choice, but you want to make certain that you're following the rules as much as possible. And only take risks if you absolutely need to for some business reason. Limit risk as much as possible. My worry is with AI, it's getting tougher and tougher out there. And so this is a great move in the right direction. But remember, even with this, if you don't use security officer, for instance, or you enable things like the shell or a secure shell and just leave it open, or you don't use the certificate. I mean, all these things you could do. Look at the Veeam best practices, follow them, okay, and listen to the security experts. In fact, I would even say now that I'm a data protection person. I've done security, but it wasn't my main field. So I always check with security people when I'm deciding something. I mean, not something as simple as a Veeam SO, but other things. Do that. It's not worth the risk. Okay. Again, huge congratulations to Veeam. This is wonderful. Why is Veeam number one? Because they do things like this. See you next week.